The contract needs to actually say all the stuff that we agree to. Now, the reason why, and this might seem kind of obvious. Oh, he just said that, it's on the contract, but he promises. No, that's not how this works. If it's not on the actual contract, typically it's not going to apply. All right, so in today's music business tip, I'm going to be talking about what's in a good music contract. Okay, I have become impassioned about talking to you guys about music contracts, not just from high level stuff of specifically when we look at things like a record label deal, when we look at a management contract. And so we'll go through these specific agreements, but when it comes to just understanding music contracts in general, the great news is that there are things that are common to every single contract. So you can get kind of a baseline knowledge of understanding contracts, being able to review them, read them, and negotiate them like a pro. And this is really important that you guys know how to do and have under your belts, because you are going to come into negotiating a music contract at some point. It's just what happens. So before we get into it, make sure you like this video. If you find anything in it helpful, I appreciate it. It spreads the word and the love, and I love your faces. All right, so number one, when it comes to what's in a good music contract, the contract needs to say what the parties agreed to. Now, when I say what the parties agreed to, right, it's going to be what are the main things you and the other side, that's what we mean when we say parties. Okay, it's the people who are in the contract, who are in the agreement. What did both sides say they were going to do? Okay, what that entails should be in the actual contract. What that's called are the material terms. Okay, material terms are the main points of the deal, and then we have extra stuff that we have to discuss and put in the contract. That's the point of the contract. So on a high level, let's say I'm hiring you. You're going to do my next song. That ORKO is getting fired. And you, as my music producer, I'm going to say, you're going to make me a song. You're going to work with me. We're going to work on the lyrics and melodies. You're going to record me. You might do the mix. You might do the mastering. And so I say, here's all the stuff that I expect of you as the music producer. As a music producer, you're going to say, all right, I want to get paid $1 million. So those are the material terms of the deal. What's being done, what's being paid. So what we now need to make sure is that in the contract, at a bare minimum, the stuff that we said as far as the exact bullet points and the amounts to be paid and when stuff is supposed to be done, all needs to be in this actual contract. So number one is the contract needs to actually say all the stuff that we agree to. Now, the reason why, and this might seem kind of obvious, but the reason that I'm specifically addressing this is because a lot of times there's stuff just not put in the contract. You guys know I'm a real entertainment attorney, so my day job is looking at your contracts. And a lot of times I'll be like, hey, you told me that you guys agreed to X, Y, and Z. Where is that in the contract? Oh, he just said that, it's on the contract, but he promises. No, that's not how this works. Everything that's important needs to be in the actual contract, because the way that the contract laws work, if it's not on the actual contract, typically it's not going to apply. Okay, so really important. Number two, when it comes to what's in a good music contract, you got to have the term defined. When I say the term, I'm talking about, how long does the contract go for? Okay, we're excited. We're going to do a song together. So the term of the contract might be, well, when you're done with the song and you deliver it to me and I say, great, thank you so much, then the contract is done. Sometimes we'll say, well, the term of the contract for like a management agreement, the contract is 1 year long. During that year, I'm your manager. You can't work with other people. Okay. So that's number two. Number three, when it comes to what's in a good contract, termination. So we want to know, how long is the contract? We also want to know, when does the contract stop? Okay. And specifically, how do we stop it? How do we break out of the contract? So we want to make sure there's always termination language, because what can happen is that, that language just won't be in the contract anywhere. Okay. So if we don't have a way to actually terminate, it gets a little sticky. So when you say, hey, I've been working with this manager for 8 months, we said it's a 1 year contract. He said that we have an automatic renewal in it. I'm not really seeing that I can terminate. I don't know how I terminate. There's no language. So now we have to do some creative lawyering and figure stuff out. So you want to make sure you know exactly how the contract works, what's in it, how long it goes for, and how do we get out of it. Okay. And usually in the how we get out of it, it includes what happens if someone breaches the contract. Okay. So if someone doesn't do what they promised, so in my producer example, new music producer Turns out I should have kept that ORKO. Turns out I had the best thing ever. And new music producer sucks because he gets distracted. He doesn't get my song done. He takes forever. It's been like 2 years. He still hasn't delivered it. So all these things that could happen where now I'm not getting what I paid for. And so I need to not only terminate the contract, but to actually end it to get money back, right? To get out of it. Same thing with like management agreements. I can't tell you how many times I have artists contacting my law office because all they want to know is, how do I get out of the contract with the manager? I was so excited. I signed the deal and this guy sucks, or gal. All right, so number 4, moving on. When it comes to what's in a good music contract, you have to define where is a dispute going to be heard. Meaning, we're going to, duke it out. we're gonna have a fight about the contract, whether it's a breach of contract, whether it's someone didn't hold up their end of the bargain, and we need to know where that's going to happen. So it's really important you actually have that somewhere in the contract that says, if there is a dispute about this agreement, we will handle it in this state. Okay, so usually this is a point that we negotiate. If I'm on your side negotiating for you, I will always negotiate to say it's the state that you live in. Okay, so that means you don't have to go to another state to go to court, right? So that's kind of a pro tip right there. But the point is, you want to make sure at a minimum it says what happens if there's a dispute. How do you handle it? Are you going through mediation? Are you filing a lawsuit? Are you doing arbitration? By the way, I have another video on Top Music Attorney YouTube that goes into what those things are. If you want to do more of a deep dive, understanding like mediation and arbitration, just do a search. But moving on, other than knowing how long it is, how to get out of it, and then where we're going to have the fight if we have to have the fight. Number 5, we want to look at who owns the thing. Usually the thing is music. Okay. So when it comes to, hey, Mr. Producer, I'm hiring you. I'm paying you the $1 million. I'm hoping you're going to have this wonderful song for me. Who owns the music? If you don't actually say who owns it in the contract, the way it works with copyright law is that the people who make it own it. That's the way copyright law operates. Copyright law protects authors. It wants to make sure that if you made something, someone can't come in and just kind of steal it from you. But the reason that's a problem sometimes is that if you pay someone to make you the thing, but you don't get that contract saying, hey, producer gives the ownership to me, producer still owns it, even though you paid him. So you got to say who's going to own it, and you got to make sure that's actually in the contract that you both sign. Okay. And then, obviously we can get into the nitty gritty. I have a lot of videos talking about how to negotiate these things and the minutia and all that, but we're doing a little more high level on this video. So moving on, number 6, we also want to talk about how will the money be paid? Because sometimes we do back-end royalties, right? So you say, here's the amount of money that's being paid up front. But then also, I want to get back-end royalties, right? I want 1%. I want 2%, because if this thing blows up, I want to make sure that I'm a part of it. So if there are ongoing monies, you need to talk about, how is everyone going to get paid? When do they get paid? Is it 1 time a year? Is it 4 times a year? Because if you don't define it, then it's kind of like whoever's collecting the money, it's whenever they decide to pay you. That's not good. Okay? So that's the high level stuff. Now, let's move on. When it comes to just kind of a couple of tips, number 1, understand that you can negotiate any contract. If someone sends you a contract, don't feel like you're going to be a burden. It's okay for you to push back and request what you think is fair. Now, the other side might come back and say no, and then you have to figure out where to go from there. But it's very normal to negotiate. Okay. Another tip, don't feel pressured. So I think that a lot of people who are very familiar with contracts, especially music companies and record labels, they do this all the time, right? And they know that the artist is very excited. They want to sign with the company. And so sometimes they'll use pressure tactics to just get the deal done. Hey, here's a contract. Please sign by like tomorrow. If you're the artist, you can say, I need more time. We need to negotiate. That's okay. But just understand that a lot of people will employ some pressure tactics to try to get you to sign real quick. And it might not be that they're kind of, shady people. They just might move quick and they want to get the deal done. But understand that if someone's putting pressure on you to get it done and to sign, it's okay to push back. It's very normal. If you hire an attorney, which you should at some point, because an attorney is going to protect you, get you a better deal, and it's going to be the best investment of your money, the attorney is going to take a month to get it done. Speaking for myself, my law office is very unusual. We move incredibly fast. That's my thing. I like it. But like for the average attorney, we'll send something out and we'll get it back in like 2 weeks. Moving on, back to the getting an attorney thing. You know, I talked to an artist yesterday, and she's in this big band, right? So it's like one of these, you know, jazz bands and jam bands. They have a lot of members, okay? And she's like, you know, we've been doing this for so long, and we're just looking to kind of get agreements and all this stuff together. And so we're going through this, and I was just like, all right, so you really want to make sure, whether it's me or someone else, I don't care, but when it comes to the contract between you and the other band members, make sure you get it drafted by an actual attorney. This one contract is going to dictate the ownership of the music, who gets paid, how do things work. And if you have holes in your contract, if you have stuff that's missing, then someone's going to take advantage of that. And then when you call me because there's a problem, you're going to end up paying like 10 times what you would for, you know, having just one contract drafted in the beginning. And so, you know, that's why I just say, when it comes to these important contract guys, like, get help. Please get help, because it will save you a lot of money, and you will look badass because you will have representation getting you the best deal, and you'll be really, it's a very important investment. I have literally hired attorneys myself, including before I became an attorney and while I've been an attorney, because there's some situations where having an extra person looking over your stuff is a really good thing. Okay. Now, for those of you who are digging this understanding music contract stuff, I just put together and released a free, okay, totally free mini course on how to understand contracts like a pro. I'll be sure to link it down in the description. So you'll be able to kind of go through this. And I do a really, really good overview of some of the best things that I've ever learned when it comes to understanding contracts and actually negotiating them. So if you found this helpful, be sure to like the video, share it with someone who's trying to, you know, help themselves in their music career. I love your faces, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm top music attorney, Miss Krystle. Bye, guys.